what? Okay. It's fine. It's
We
fine.
heard the snap.
It's fine.
Fuck off.
Welcome back to I Hate That Shit. This is the podcast about hating shit, loving life, and here's with the host, the person that loves life the most.
That's right.
I can't speak, but she can.
Hi, everyone. It's Bonnie. Hope this finds you well.
And I'm Liz.
Yay.
And we're here with some special guest, as you can see. Finally,
We're on YouTube.
you can see.
You can see me, you guys. Don't I look pretty?
No.
Hey guys, it's Cynthia.
You guys know who she is.
Neighbor extraordinaire.
That's right. And our special guest.
What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor, new to this podcast.
Yes.
I'm also one of the neighbors in this crew, so
Yes.
looking forward to spending some time with these crazy people.
Yes.
I'm the only non-neighbor.
You are,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, you suck.
I'm
you
not
have a
allowed
dog
in the
too,
neighborhood.
don't you?
I'm only allowed to come visit. Do it?
A dog, too, don't you? You have a dog?
I wish. but
No.
No, not
Sorry.
anymore.
No.
Thought I saw one on your background.
It is. But I don't have that dog anymore.
Well, we decided to do this podcast today because me and Taylor and Cynthia, we always are talking when we're out with the dogs. And Taylor had a run-in with some old people. So we're gonna
Like
talk-
you?
No, older than me. And I am.
What?
And I'm not old, bitch ass.
They exist?
I'm.
So tell us what happened, Taylor. Why
Yeah.
did this piss you off?
Yes.
Well, so I was walking my two dogs the other morning and just minding my own business like I do every morning. It's a nice casual walk, and I was having a nice day, and I was walking towards this older woman who was coming towards me with her dog, and I was smiling at her. At the last minute, she jumped off the pathway and she said, "Fuck you."
What?
And I said to her, "What did you just say to me?" It was just kind of odd. And
How old was she? What,
Oh,
so what do you
man.
think? 60s,
Boomers.
70s?
probably in her 70s.
Okay. And she said fuck you to you?
She said, "Fuck you." That was the first
Wow.
word out of her mouth. It wasn't like, "Hi, how are you?" It was like, "Fuck you." And I said, "What did you say to me?" And her line back was, "All of you young kids
Oh.
keep running me off the path." And I said, "Well, my dogs are nice dogs. I wish you would have told me that yours is not."
Right.
And she then came back to me with, I don't know what, but something that was hard to understand. And then we just kind of walked off. But it was just a bad way to start my day.
Yeah.
And for no reason at
For
all.
no reason at all.
Just because I was a young guy
Yeah.
walking my dogs. I think that was the main culprit of it.
You know, the thing I do have to say about old people too, and is that this is probably, let's say, 25 years ago. I was working at a friend's restaurant and in Albuquerque, and I was sitting there, you know, doing my job, whatever. And then this old lady got up and she went to the cashier, and then she came back. And by this time, I was standing there talking to a server. And she came up and looked at me, looked at the server, and opened the server's hand and go, "I want to make sure you get this tip so the colored girl doesn't take it." I was like, wow. And of course, the server's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I was like, that ain't on you. And you know, whatever, I just totally dismissed it. But this place I worked at had a lot of old people. The next week, a regular, she always came in. She was 87 at the time, and this is almost 30 years ago.
God.
She came in, and she's always pleasant, a good demeanor, you know, just really nice lady, a great tipper. That day, I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" She literally bit my head off. And I was all like, what the fuck? It was like so out of character. You know, you're like, oh my God. And I just stayed away from her the rest of the day. So the next week she comes in and she goes, "I have to apologize." And I was like thinking, what, you know? She goes, "The way I snapped at you last week." And I said, "Oh, it's okay." She goes, "No, my bones were really hurting." And I was all, oh, then it made me feel bad, you know? And I was like, "You fucking bitch, you old lady, you old crotchety, you old fucking..." You know, you're thinking all this stuff. And then the next week when she came in and said that, I was like, oh. So I guess, you know, when you get old, I guess you're hurting a lot.
So she apologized to you.
She did apologize because she was it was so out of character for this old lady to be a fucking bitch.
But I think there's a difference between it being a moment where you're out of character,
Right.
versus you're just an asshole all the time.
All the time.
And you're like, oh, because I'm old. Like, you know what?
I'm old too.
It doesn't excuse.
Yeah, I
doesn't
feel
excuse it.
like calling somebody out on their generation. Like if you were to be like,
Right.
"Oh, you old," whatever
Right.
she was.
Yeah,
what was
she
that?
was an old crotchety bitch.
That's just generalizing.
Right.
Like, calling somebody out on their generation. So, the 7 generations that I guess are still alive. Well, I don't think the greatest generation, which is 1901 to 1924, I don't know that a whole lot
Maybe
of them are
some of
alive.
them, not too many, but if they are, they're
At
old.
most,
Well, 'cause
you
next
could
year
count
less
them
than a
on your
dozen.
fingers.
Yeah.
Years old,
Yeah, less
Right.
than
Yeah.
a dozen, I'm sure.
So the greatest, and then the silent 1925, 1945. That's my grandparents. My grandparents are silent. My parents are boomers. Gen X is after that, and then millennials, Gen Z, and Alpha.
I know it's so weird that young kids are alpha.
It's so
love it.
weird they sit there and they can now legitimately look you in the eye and say,
Yeah.
in the late 1900s.
Yeah.
Yes, I was born in the late
You're
1900s.
like, you're
Fucker,
like,
I
oh
can't
my
stand
God.
Let me ask you something. Between all those generations, what do you believe is like the most misunderstood between them? Like, is it the silent and then the baby boomers, or do you think it's that, like, us and them? Like, because there is a gap, I think, between each of those, and I think life lately is drastically different than what it's ever
I
been
agree
before.
with that.
So I just wonder what your opinion
Yeah.
is on that.
Well, me and Cynthia talked about it last night that we both, and I'm the last year of the baby boomers, but I think baby boomers are the worst. I really do. And maybe it's because I'm younger. I'm the last of the baby boomers, but most of them they're older than me, and they just think that their shit don't stink. Like, you know why? Because if you look back, the baby boomers had it the best by far. I mean, they are the kids that are born after they came home from the war, right? That's why it's called a baby boom.
The economy was booming. Everything was
school
booming.
was cheap. You could go on the GI Bill. Anyone could go to school. You could afford a house and send all your kids to school on one income.
One income.
One
That's
income.
the big thing.
It is.
agree.
One income, because like shortly after that, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
And it's like, I feel like that hate between every generation is based on lack of
Understanding.
lack of
Exactly
acceptance. Like it's different, and instead of trying to understand it, you're just fuck that generation, you know. And it goes both ways, really. Like I can say, I was born in '85, so I'm a millennial.
Boo.
I could say
Hey, watch it.
Come on
I'm just
now.
kidding.
I could say that
The rest of
that
us are millennials.
I know.
looking at boomers and stuff like that, like that, the memes, boomer.
Yeah.
Like it is based on something, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
But what is it based on? Like, can you reflect on that and honestly say that is a positive thing? Because
It's
I
not a
don't think it
positive
is.
thing. It's not.
It's not.
It's
but
not
there
positive.
was something I saw recently where somebody kind of perfectly explained it. Of you have the older generation knocking the younger generation because like you can't write a check, you can't read
That
cursive,
is all
you
true.
can't do all this stuff, which is true.
And those things
I'm
are
not saying it's
important.
not. I'm just saying. They're saying you're lazy POSs
Right.
for this, and they're like, yeah, but you can't send an email.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You
the-
can't
right,
set up your
exactly.
phone. You can't do this, that, and the third. So, like, I have things I can teach you. You have things you could teach me. And instead of just
That's
knocking
the-
each other,
right, that's the
why
disconnect.
can't we just come
Because
together?
it's the disconnect right there. That's the disconnect. Because every generation thinks that they're better than the last. I mean, that's just
or
the way it
they
is.
better yet, they think they're better than the
And taking
next
that
too as
Exactly.
well.
Like-
Exactly.
Writing cursive is not valuable to my life anymore. Like I don't
No.
ever write
Everything's
notes. Everything is on the
printed.
computer.
I disagree
That's
with
just
that.
like nobody
And-
writes checks anymore. I'm not
Right,
saying it's not
right.
something worth
your,
learning. Just
signature,
like cursive.
your
It's
signature
not
is
something
important.
worth
You're not going
learning.
to write an X as your signature. You're going to use cursive. It's important to know cursive.
But I'm
Mine's
not going
a
to write
scribble.
a handwritten note.
But it's
in
still not
cursive.
print. But it's not print, is it?
I mean, in fairness, it's not really
for-
cursive either.
But is it print? Is it scribble? Scribbles are usually what?
Scribbles.
Loop-de-loops, right?
Yeah, but even
It's like a
I'm,
doodle.
and I'm sorry I interrupted you, honey. What were you going to say? I'm
That's all I was
sorry.
gonna say.
I'm sorry.
I was done.
Were you going to say about that, about cursive?
No.
Whatever.
Okay,
I just
so
can't write it, so I guess maybe I'm over.
you can't write cursive. Well,
Most kids
anymore.
can't.
God, it's
even
been 20
kids
years.
that
Exactly.
learn cursive, like that was a whole part of the curriculum when I
Yeah,
went to school,
me too.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was taught cursive back in elementary school, and I'm only 21. Do I remember how to write it? Not a chance.
But I remember kids in my class being like, "No, I don't want to write in cursive." Who cares?
I
Like,
agree.
Why is that so important to you? Why is
Like learning, but here's the thing. I get your argument about a signature.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like learning a signature, yes. But to learn to write a 5-page letter in
I still write it.
cursive
That's all I do.
it's not
So you type
the
instead.
most important thing.
You hit
everything
numbers.
is on the computer
Yeah.
now?
You hit letters and
Kids-
numbers instead of writing.
That's the thing is like we have to move with technology.
Right.
And the technology is not learn how to write a 5-paragraph essay in cursive.
Right.
It's type it up on the computer.
Or use AI nowadays.
double
Oh,
space.
gosh.
And
And
that's
I think part of that
that's
is
a
how
different-
fast you can type.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So instead of practice,
employers value how quickly can
Yep.
you work, and part of that is not
Being efficient.
writing out all your, it's about how quick can you type. Actually, when I was
Right.
in, I think, 5th grade, we had classes like that where they would cover the keyboard.
Yeah.
The typewriter, yeah.
Typewriter.
Me
and they
too.
and so you'd have to spell out words, and based on that, you got grades.
Right.
And so, like, my generation, that's how
I
we
see
were
that.
raised. Like,
And that's
I
what
we
see
weren't
that.
raised learning cursive. We were
Right.
raised how to type on a
Right.
computer. So
Right. Because
we're not
you
going to
were
go
moving with
backwards
the
in time.
times.
Exactly.
From
They
like
were almost
middle
in advance
school
of
to
the time
high
in a way.
school,
Yeah.
we would have to take typing classes
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
consistently.
Yes.
And you would always have that folder. And
Yep.
every time you try to cheat, the teacher is like,
Yeah.
That's funny that you're bringing that
you
back.
know what's so funny to me
That's right.
is like all these generations that are like, I dislike this generation.
Right.
Who were we raised by?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Ding 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 ding. Exactly.
they're like, you're so soft. How'd you get so soft? You made me.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yes.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
The only person you're mad at is your
It's funny. I saw an argument because okay, let's just point this out that a lot of this generation hate skips Gen X. Yeah.
Because
Gen X.
they are the best.
So
Gen X is after baby boomers.
Yes.
Okay.
Gen X.
They were the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. So
Yes. Yes.
So what are the years for that? Sorry.
so Gen X is 1965 to 1980.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I see why they
so-
skipped that one.
So
I see that.
They bleed into kind of like elder millennials. Like I feel like that,
I
that's
agree.
a huge because my
like the first maybe
My
up
siblings-
until, I mean technically it's not Gen X, but up until like 88, 89, it was all kind of the same
Right.
way you were brought up.
right. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I also grew up. Both my sisters were born in the 70s, so like they
such
were
good
my
times.
influence,
Yes.
and so. But anyways, I wanted to say that like boomers calling millennials out and Gen Z. Well, first off, pretty much anything after millennial, everyone just calls millennial.
Yeah, I agree with. I
That's
do.
I'm so
It's
sick of
bullshit.
it.
Yeah, it is bullshit.
I
do it, though.
so I feel like it's a
I
lot
agree.
of boomers and even Gen X
Right.
calling millennials out on stupid shit like, oh, you don't know how to drive a stick shift. Like, who fucking cares?
Plus, we weren't the ones eating Tide Pods, okay?
Yeah.
We
that
weren't
was-
the ones licking the ice cream.
That was Gen Z.
That was
Okay?
not us.
Yeah, Gen Z.
But I
they're-
saw this
oof.
thing where somebody, it was like on social media, and some boomer was saying how, like, millennial parents, it was shot at dads,
Right.
especially. They don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to change their own oil in their car. They don't know how to, like just calling them out on
It's
stuff.
too hard to
And
do that
then
shit nowadays in a
Somebody
car.
said to them, well, at least I tell my kids that I love them.
Ooh.
Like, that's a
Yeah.
big thing.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Because
That's
you remember
true.
the commercials?
Yes.
The time is 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Do you know where your children are?
Yeah.
I was
Like,
about
how the
to bring
fuck
up the
don't you
same
know
thing.
where your kids are at?
Yeah.
Like, why do you need a commercial to tell you
hey,
to love your kids?
Hey, people are leaving their
Or
babies
even
in the
know
car.
they exist.
Exactly.
Right.
And people are leaving babies in the car though. Because they act like they don't exist.
Right. Well,
So
and
it's-
that's that generalization.
Do we need to bring
Yeah.
that back?
What's
Yes.
that? Hating
Do we
your-
need to bring
every,
back the
every
it's
30
10
minutes
a.m.?
on the radio
It's
or whatever.
noon. Do you know where your children
are?
Yeah.
You should.
Yes,
Your
I
kids
do. They're locked in
dying
the
your
car.
backseat.
All right, we're not letting our special guest say anything. He's just listening to us ramble.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's funny that you think that the boomers are, quote, the worst, because I would argue that actually the silent generation, so like my grandparents are in their 80s, they don't understand what life is like these days.
No, they do not.
I actually looked this up. A house in 1962.
Yeah, was like
the average cost was
$3,000.
like $26,000, and they made $9,000
The cars
a
were like
year, right? So
$3,000.
you work you
Yeah.
work 3 years and you have a house.
Exactly.
Nowadays, you have to work 10 to 20 years.
Yes.
Just
buy
to
a
get
house
that
'cause the salaries
$20,000
haven't-
down payment.
Exactly, or like whatever it is. So they had it so much easier.
They did, I
in
agree.
In my mind, and my grandma's been retired for 40 years now, and has more money now than she did when she retired.
Oh, yeah?
And like, for me, that's not going to happen. Like, I'll be like working till I'm her age,
Right.
which is fine by me. I actually like to work, but it's just it's a different
It
world.
is.
It's a different. There's a lot more pressure now. Everything's more expensive, and I think not that we're talking about this now, but I think that's a lot of the reason why men and young men are just so unhappy.
Yeah, I agree.
Not that I'm not unhappy, because I am, but it's just it's a very steep mountain to climb.
Yeah, it
for
is.
a lot of people these days.
But that's okay. Sorry to interrupt,
No.
but that's where I think the disconnect is between the generation itself.
Good.
Is that shit sucks. But when you're sitting there touting all the positives, you got the bad shit goes hand in hand with that. You got to take the bad with the good. It's
true.
So if you know you want a house or you want to play Keeping Up with the Joneses, then take your ass to work 3 jobs. Sorry. If those are the things you want, that's the things you have to do.
It's not so much if we want things, but don't want to work to get them. It's more along the lines of we want things, but getting those things requires so many unnecessary hoops to jump through, flat out horrendous working conditions, pay that hasn't risen in however many years, etc. After a while, the future starts to look bleak, and motivation goes out the window.
I mean, things were cheaper back then, the Industrial Revolution, all of that stuff. Now what I think it is, and I say it's greed inflation. Shit does not have to be expensive as it is. People are fucking greedy out there.
It's
They're like,
because
oh,
corporations
it is
own the fucking world.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
corporate greed.
Do you see that though? Do you understand that point? What I'm trying to make like about the guys being unhappy?
Yeah.
They're unhappy because of the pressure. You don't have to live that lifestyle though.
But I think also to play devil's advocate to what he's saying is that when it was, the boomers and generations before that, men were
The breadwinners.
the breadwinners,
Of
they were
course.
the providers,
Yes.
and they taught their kids that. And
Yes.
that's what they continue to teach their
Right.
kids to
Even
this
though
day.
society
Even
is
though
change.
it's not
Right.
able,
Right.
for the most
Right.
part, for that to be
That is very
the
true.
standard.
That is
and
very
that's
true.
why men have more pressure. Of
I see that.
and if they say, I'm upset, I can't do it, people
Like you're a pussy.
you like you're a pussy, you're a
Yeah.
little girl, stop
Right.
being a bitch.
Right.
Ball
Do
sack,
whatever.
not pussy.
Yeah, ball sack. Yeah, pussies are hard.
Pussies are strong,
They're like,
ball sacks are weak.
That's actually
Either way, stop being weak.
Exactly.
Be a man.
Right.
Do what you gotta
And
do.
you know
and
what?
say,
It is
right.
hard to be a man these days. I mean, I see it's hard to be a person.
Thank you,
Period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree
Period.
100%.
I
I
mean,
think
there is so
we
much
need to
pressure.
normalize being able to, for men to be able to say, look, I'm stressed.
Or even
Like,
or I want to stay
anybody in
home and
general.
take care of the kids instead of work.
Oh,
There's nothing
yeah.
wrong with that.
Could you
either.
If
imagine-
that's what works out for your family,
Exactly.
then
A
that's, you're like,
boomer
cool.
staying home?
Yeah.
Like a man staying
Yeah,
home?
no
Oh
way.
my
And to
God.
piggyback
No way.
on what you guys were talking about, I've always wondered this too, but like obviously now like there's a lot of mental health issues going on. Not that I really know much about that, but I wonder if like our grandparents also had those, but they just didn't vocalize them.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
Because if they
That's
did
why they all
vocalize
pop
them-
pills.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
we're
where that
drunks.
Valley
yeah,
of the
they're
Dolls.
drunks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That show.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
had
So you
it
think
was
just-
prescribed
it
though,
was
so
just
they
as
weren't
prevalent,
drug
though,
addicts.
back then.
Yeah.
And they drank a lot
Well,
too.
everything is like
At work,
everything.
by the way.
Yeah.
Like Mad Men.
Everything
It was
everything
like
that's
that.
happening or
Yeah.
you know like mental illnesses and whatever that's in our society, everything has a name to it now,
Right.
whereas
Yeah.
it didn't have a name to it before.
Back then, they just
Yeah.
you could either take a pill
Yeah.
and it was fine,
Or go see
Get
a
a
or
priest.
lobotomy.
you got put
Oh, yeah, the lobotomies.
exactly. You got put into
Yeah, a home.
in a home
What do they
or
call
a
them? Sanitation centers. Or
sanitary.
Sanitary.
Sanitation. What are they, janitors.
Oops.
sanitariums. Yeah,
So
so
that-
that you could get fixed.
Right. Right.
And what was so bad was you look at like what was the youngest Kennedy daughter?
Oh yeah.
I don't
got
remember
enough-
her name, but it was the
bottom.
youngest Kennedy
Yeah.
daughter. They
Yes.
kept shoving her because she
Yes.
didn't like fit in
Right.
to society, and so they kept putting her into them. They kept giving her lobotomy after lobotomy until the point that she was just
That's
Shit
who
crazy.
started the Special Olympics because of her.
Yeah.
The Kennedys did because of
they
that.
made her that
Because
way.
they were like, oh fuck, what
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was crazy.
But so, why can't we just say, hey, every generation has its strength and weakness.
Amen, sister.
Like let's
Amen.
figure it out together.
Exactly. Because we are all in this
Instead
together.
of sitting there and being like, I hate you because you were born in this day and age.
Right.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like you're a lazy piece of shit. It's like, well, you ruined the economy, but
okay,
like you have
but,
to deal with it.
Okay,
You have to
in defense
just
of all of that,
fix it
of
all
old
and work
people,
together.
I will say though, it's me and Cynthia just last week, week before last, what we always do, sitting on the couch getting high, watching the boob tube. We were sitting there, we were thinking about some celebrity or whatever, right? And instead of having to call the radio station
Yeah.
or call a friend, you got the information right at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is amazing. You know, you didn't know. You don't. I mean, these kids nowadays, do they even know what a card catalog is?
No. So
See, I
The
mean,
Dewey
there's some-
Decimal System.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, that's semantics, but I feel like that. I feel like as a older millennial,
Yeah, you old bitch.
so as much as like Gen Xers are like, we are the last generation to blah blah blah. I did all that shit too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a
I was right there
millennial.
with
I did all
you.
that shit. But I do have to say that delayed gratification is something that Gen Z and the Alpha generation will never know.
I agree with that.
That is one thing that I can agree with you.
Yes.
Because anything you want to know, anything
Yes.
you want to hear, anything you
Instant
want to watch.
I agree.
Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, right
Yes, I agree
I
with
do.
that.
I think the
That's
only
it.
time they ever feel that is when like the Wi-Fi goes out.
away. Or ads come on that you can't
Yeah,
skip.
and you're like,
But see, I think having all that information all the time is actually bad for people
I agree with that.
because you don't retain any
No,
knowledge.
you
look
don't.
it up one time, you get the answer, and then you move on. And I've noticed that even with me now, like I can't even read books anymore because I get through 3 pages and my mind's wandering already to the next topic because that's my daily life. It's
Exactly.
like looking up information on the internet, on the computer.
Right.
It's just constant
It is.
information that my mind now is trained to not focus on a book.
Yeah, that's
And I hate
that's
that.
like kids. They can't sit
I
through
hate that.
a 2-hour movie.
No, I mean,
They sit there and
I
they can watch
can't.
the 5-minute clips on or reels or whatever or on YouTube and whatever.
Yeah.
But to get them to sit through a 2-hour movie as a family, no,
No.
No.
Because there's too many distractions.
exactly. That's sad, man.
Yeah.
It is sad. I'm not saying that Gen Z or the Alpha generation, which I have to say, like my kids,
My
are
grandkids.
Alpha
Yep.
generation. It is sad, and it's not to say that they're not going to grow up to be smart individuals.
no.
I'm sure they are, but you're right. That constant being able to flick to
Yes.
the next thing. As a teacher, I can
Yes.
tell you that is terrible when you're trying to teach one topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So
they're
like
just
kids will
"What?
ask
What?"
you what the next topic is, or like how have you noticed that as a
Well,
teacher?
it's like you can't even go into deep explanation on anything because they're like, okay, I'm bored with this. Let's move on. Because that's how their brain grew up.
Yeah.
Is watching these like next 1 minute thing. And so unfortunately that's going to land on me, or not unfortunately, but not all parents are going to recognize that.
I agree with that.
That's my responsibility to take care of.
Yep.
Not the teachers.
No,
That's
exactly.
mine as a
Right.
parent.
That's right.
So that is something, but that doesn't mean that they're going to grow up weird.
No, it's just
Aren't we
their
all
generation.
weird?
Yes, we are. But
I feel like it
that's
just
their-
depends on how they use it.
Yeah, it's
Like
their
it
generation.
can be used to an advantage, or it can be used to a disadvantage.
Well, look, these kids could turn on a phone at 2 years old. They could do all of that stuff. Type, I mean, get on the computer and do. You know, I mean, before they're 5 years old, these kids can do that shit.
Yeah, I had my niece when she was
Yeah,
5 years
I
old
mean,
teaching me how to use it.
It's just their generation, and I honestly think the alpha generation will save this world. I really, they seem to be so much smarter. They're kinder,
They're more accepting.
They're more accepting of everybody.
Like
and
I said, it depends if they use their power for good or evil.
I think they will use it for good, because this is the way I feel about the alpha generation, because I don't know if it's because my grandbabies are in it.
My generation and future generations are more open to most things, I believe. We have realized that if we don't fix the world, then the future is not going to be good for us. It seems to me that every new generation is smarter and more open than the last. We basically have no choice but to fix the world, and we are making sure it happens.
And a lot of the kids that I know are part of it. I really believe they are star children. I really believe that they will be the ones, because, I mean, I've been around for a long time. Anyway,
Many decades.
Anyway, I am blown away by how smart they are. I mean, just on simple subjects, just on stuff that I had to know, took me a long time to know, and it's just something that they know.
Yeah.
They just know.
Yep.
And it just blows me away. I really think that they're so kind, they're smart, they're funny, and the big thing that Cynthia said, they are accepting. They are accepting of everyone and everybody.
Yeah.
And I love that about them, because we still have a lot of prejudice and bigotry that's still hanging on to the silent generation.
I feel like that goes with what Cynthia, what you
Yep.
were saying earlier, how it's like that generation before us goes down, and then it's like that one teaches the next, who teaches the next, who teaches the next.
Yeah.
And so even though, yes, there is still a lot of hate and a lot of bigotry in this world, it is because of that the alpha generation is more accepting.
I love that.
Because you slowly it started like
Yeah, the
before the
generational-
civil rights, but I'll go from
Right.
the civil rights movement to like the
1964.
feminism and all
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Just passing it down of like, this is okay.
Right.
Like,
Black
people aren't bad. Women can wear pants.
Right.
Like,
I see that.
so
I
on
see
and
the
so
shift.
forth.
With you saying that makes me understand the shift.
Yeah.
Because if you see the early 1900s, Black people were still being lynched. Women couldn't vote. It was a white man's world. I mean, it still is. But once the civil rights movement happened, it kind of it tumbled. Things started, you had the
trickles
women
down.
burning their bras. A woman could not even have a credit card till 1972 without her husband's signature on it. I mean, look how far we've come.
Right.
So the alpha generation has seen these changes, and the people before them have lived through these changes.
Yeah.
We all have.
I have to say, I think that dog millennials all you want, older generations, but I feel like we've lived through more than you have.
Yeah.
How many recessions have we lived through?
Yeah.
Yep.
How many, like, the different crises
Wars.
that we lived through?
And we just lived through COVID.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Pandemics.
We all
No,
That's true.
Hey,
We all did.
Hey,
We all
wait,
did.
before you guys go bashing them, I just want to, the counterpoint is in 1900 they lived through the pandemic too. Remember?
Yeah.
They that happened.
But then
Hey, I'm not done. What about the Dust Bowl? People, the famine.
The Dust Bowl only affected a certain part of the country. I'm talking like.
So do you
Okay,
think
that's
maybe
That
this is
true.
going back to like the early 1900s to 1920s where it's like a bunch of illnesses, a bunch of
And
disasters,
then the Great
a bunch of
Depression
wars,
happened, the stock market crashed.
and we
They've
might
had
be going
their-
back
they
to the
had-
start.
Right. They've
Like
had
it might
their
just be
share
a
of bullshit,
repeat
too.
of history just hitting the
Repeating
repeat
itself?
button.
That
Yeah,
makes sense.
definitely, but it's
I
going to
agree.
be different
We-
just
it-
because
it
of
will be.
society.
We were
where society's
round.
out.
I agree with
And
that.
there's way more people in the world.
Way more people. 8 billion
insane.
people on this planet.
Yeah, that's
8
fucking.
You
billion.
mentioned in
Hey,
your
8
last
billion
comment,
people.
8 billion, and they're all watching this podcast right
Hey,
now.
29 countries are listening, and thank you guys. Little shout out to everybody.
So you mentioned earlier about saving the world, and I wanted to ask you what you meant by that, because that could be a whole different.
But that's very subjective.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of
You're right.
interpretation.
Save it in
of
what
saving
way?
the world, like saving it from
So
Oh,
that it
saving it from-
continues
okay.
to
environmental
exist.
disasters.
Well,
saving
okay,
it from-
I'll
there's
tell you
so
what
many
I
things we
think.
could unpack here.
This way, I think they will reject, the alphas will reject AI. 1. 2, I really think that they will get on board with this climate change because they're the ones that are I'm going to be way gone when the earth is burning. They're the ones that are going to have to come up with solutions for that.
Well, why can't we help them now, though?
Because people are greedy. People don't give a fuck about that shit.
Yeah.
As long as they have theirs. They don't care about that. That's why the alpha generation is so accepting, because they're going to have to live. They're going to see it get hotter. They're going to see it get worse out there. What are they going to do? And we know the grandkids that I have, they could all go to college right now. So I think that they're smarter than the millennials, the Xers, the boomers, all of them. And then after the boomers, before the boomers, they're just too damn old. They just don't care. I think that they will find a way to piggyback on all the technology that we're learning about now and make it just better. Make it better for the world. That's the way I see them saving the world. You know? I mean, I'll be long gone, but, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that going along with that,
Mm-hmm.
in a political sense, the rights that have been taken away,
Yes.
or the rights that are up in the air,
Yes.
or that's I really hope, but I also think that it's going to stop,
Yes.
or at least get better.
I agree with that, especially with the alphas. I really do. And maybe the younger millennials, not you old biddies right here.
Can I bring...
I think he's like mid to midish.
How old are you?
33.
Oh, okay. Same age as
But I
my
want to
oldest.
bring what we talked about earlier to what we just talked about now together, because earlier you mentioned, well, if you're not making enough money, then work 3
Right.
jobs.
I did it.
But
Yeah.
if you're working 3 jobs, you don't have time to care about the environment.
I see.
So
I
they-
disagree with that. It's called multitasking.
You can't work 3
It is, but if you're working
jobs
all the time,
I
and
know.
care about the planet at the same time.
You
So I'm
have-
just bringing what you said
Okay, right.
together and just wondering how you conflate the two of those, because to me it starts with the economy. Like if we have to work 3 jobs, then we have time for nothing else,
See,
including
but,
our own personal health
I
and
just-
well-being.
it's more about
I-
just
I-
focusing
I
on
disagree
like
with
we need
that.
to
the
first
time and
fix
day.
the economy where
I
we
agree with
can
that,
all,
but-
like you said earlier, have one income, make it work, and that we have time to get back out into the community and care about the environment and work on our backyard and all that stuff. Like,
So what you're
that's
saying-
it's not happening right now because no one has time for it,
Right. Well, then
right?
that's that. I think you're. I would agree with that. Like you have to agree with, or you have to start.
Somewhere.
What is making everything inflate? What is
Right.
what
Yes.
is it's
It's
the
greed.
corporations.
It
And I agree
is.
with
That
100%.
plus, I mean, they keep. So you think minimum wage hasn't gone up? I don't think in like
Since
almost 10 years.
2009.
So then more than 10
Yes,
years.
it's still
It's gone up.
725.
It was what like
Wow.
1990. It was like maybe
525.
5. It wasn't even that because when I started
425
working, it was
maybe.
525.
Yeah. It
And that was in
213.
3.
$2.35 when I started at 16. $2.
So from that point,
Damn.
so let's like 1950s, it was like 2 something, $3. Let's round up and go $3.
Yeah, that's generous.
In 70 years, it's gone up
Not
$4.
yeah,
But the
man.
cost of living.
But the cost of living
Is
has gone up
skyrocket.
thousands
$400,000.
percent.
Exactly.
And yet they're like, well, if you raise minimum wage, inflation's gonna get bad.
Right.
Inflation's
all
already
bullshit.
bad,
And it's already
and
bullshit.
you're not raising minimum wage.
So that's
there you
go.
obviously not
So
Right.
that
the
needs
key.
to be understood by the older generations. Like,
right. And that's why
we
I understand
can't
your
live
point
like
of view.
you did.
I see that.
Because literally we can't
You
afford to.
Yeah.
I see that.
income, and this is I get it. It's a generalization. Like you're always gonna have the wealthy families, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But so then that goes back to that lack of acceptance and lack of
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
So instead of dogging my generation, why don't you stop for a second and think, oh, I had it much easier than you.
So how can I help?
But
So-
they
Yeah.
never
How
admit
can-
that.
how can I
though.
help?
Oh yeah. They
No.
never admit
Realize-
that, and they'll never
No.
share their money that they're
No.
not going to be able to take with them when they
I
die.
agree.
Exactly.
That's so sad.
Yes.
If I ever have money, I'm sharing it with everybody.
That's how I feel.
I feel that way too.
Because like you said, you can't take it with you.
You
But a
can't.
lot of them don't even have that money anymore either because of the economy.
Yeah,
That is true,
So
too.
we
Like
can't-
they're struggling too
Yeah.
on
guess-
Social
right,
Security and all
right.
this.
That is true.
And it's like, okay, yes, it is bad, but you have to understand it's decades
Right.
worth of shitty economical decisions on the
Right.
government's part. Really stop blaming us. like I said, stop blaming us. But
Yeah,
I mean,
agree.
it's not a one generation was the problem.
No.
It's
no.
multiple, and a lot of them
No.
don't want to accept that. They just say, "Oh, it's the boomers. They're at fault.
Right.
They're the reason everything's bad." Or like it's the millennials because this.
Right.
It's like it's not.
No.
And
It's
how it came to just
extenuating
be fucking
circumstances.
boomers versus millennials, I'll never understand.
I don't know. It's because I feel like millennials think anybody old is a boomer, and boomers think anybody young is a millennial.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I agree with that.
But
All right.
But to pass this on to my kids, like I'm going to tell them just to work hard, because I've noticed in my life, like you have to, like the harder you work, you actually get lucky, and like stuff
You
starts
do.
to like present itself to you. So I think
Yes.
that's one thing that all generations can agree on. Is like,
Yes.
just try your best every single day. That's all you can do.
Exactly.
And the world will kind of open.
But you also
agree.
have to
I'm
accept.
going to teach my kids that
You also have to accept that
when I have them.
your best is not the same as somebody else's best.
That's
Exactly.
right.
That-
That's
Exactly.
key,
That's
too.
different.
We
Correct.
talked about that the other day.
Yes.
Yesterday. I mean, and
Yes.
it's true.
It's true.
It's true, but I think that if we really step back here, we were talking about old people, generations, and stuff like that. It's just here in America. We live in America. We're probably the youngest democracy on earth right now. The thing that I don't understand is we've lived through so much bullshit in America. And there used to be a time when we did come together. For lots of things. You're always going to have your fringe people who, you're like, fuck you anyway. We don't want you to be part of us anyway because you suck. But we always have come together on big things. That doesn't happen anymore because everyone's so divisive. So everyone's all mad about this, mad about that.
Well, it's like they
What
say,
the
this
fuck?
is the longest any country's ever gone with our type of
Democracy.
democratic
Yep.
government.
It's
most
true.
countries, most powers fall.
Yeah.
At 250 years.
Yeah.
We're honing in on our 250 years.
Are we at the? Are we not
We're-
really?
We are, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Really?
2017,
When will it be?
76 to
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
God.
what?
2026.
247?
Yeah, we got 3 more years.
2026.
If we can make
Yeah.
it 4.
Crazy.
Oh,
We'll be
God.
doing
great. Here we go, people.
Yeah.
Either get over your generational hate, or
Yes.
the world, or the United States is just going to
Get over your hate, period. Get over your hate, period.
We'll see how it goes in the next couple years.
Yeah. And on that note, we're gonna wrap it up.
On a
Thanks, you
high note.
guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you
this was a lot of fun. It was a good topic. Thanks for all you folks out there. You got anything to say, Liz?
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
What about you?
Feeling great. That was awesome.
Really? Oh, I'm glad. See, now you
Hope
can
I'll
come
be
and
back again soon.
talk with us all the time.
Come back whenever you want to.
Exactly. And as I always say, don't let shit get you down.
Nope.
You're not alone. We're all in this together. Peace.
Go Millennials.